Hi, I'm Jess Porter. This is The List. I'm talking today with Sean Porter. No relation in biological reality, but my cousin nonetheless of my soul. Sean is from Los Angeles. He is also a stand-up comic, and we've known each other for a few years now and done comedy together. And yes, we have the same last name, which just makes it all that much better. Sean, hello. Happy Easter.
Hello. Happy Easter to you.
So your dad was a cop in Detroit.
My dad was a police
cop
officer
in
out
LA.
here in Los Angeles. Yeah, exactly.
But he's from Detroit.
That's right.
And
correct.
Your parents met how?
In Vietnam during the war. I am a product of millions of lives in death and war and violence. Yeah, so that's always good to know.
50,000 American soldiers died for you.
58,000 some odd exactly died. 3 times as much. Asian folks here died. So I can live. Yeah, and sit here and talk to you in my Star Wars robe.
And your dad is African American.
Correct. My dad is a black man from inner city Detroit, and when I tell you my mom is Vietnamese, she is very Vietnamese. I think that scene in Apocalypse Now when Martin Sheen is taking the boat up the river and they fall upon that village with all the head on the spikes and stuff. I think my mom pointed at the screen and was like, oh, that's home. Oh, yeah, that's the village next door, yeah. We saw it, no, yeah, so it's, so growing up with that dynamic is pretty interesting in Los Angeles.
Now, you and I met in a comedy class in Santa Monica, and I remember when I first started going thinking, how is this going to work? Like, it's so vulnerable. Right. You stand up on stage, and what our teacher first asked us to do was complain. Just talk about what's pissing us off. And he knows that that's where the funny is. And I just got up on stage thinking, like, fingers crossed there's something funny here. And it's weird even doing this podcast because this podcast is so explicitly not funny. Like, it's not, I'm not trying to make people laugh at all. So just the idea that I call myself a stand-up sometimes, I worry that people will listen to it and be like, you're funny. But it's a whole different realm. So I stood up on stage and just said what ticked me off. And slowly, week after week, he helps to mold that into actual material.
Right.
And I remember seeing you, and you just have this amazing presence on stage and take command of a room without being obnoxious. Like, you just walk on stage and, like, we're going to pay attention to you because you are comfortable in your own skin.
I appreciate it.
It's true.
Well, I mean, stuffing my pants, a big tube sock, so it looks like I have a bulge, certainly helps. That draws in the eyebrows.
So then we started auditioning for the clubs in L.A., and then lately, in the last year, both of us have been doing the Comedy Store on Friday nights. Yes. Not the main stage, but the original room where, like, every single person ever has played the original room.
Yes.
And then right in the middle of both you and I getting some momentum around that comes the pandemic. So do you feel like blue balls for performing right now, considering we've been locked down for like a month?
Yes. And not only feel like a pair of blue balls, but also now, I have an audience of one now when I'm at home doing my material, and I can tell you that my girlfriend does not find any of my relationship material funny at all. So you want to talk about, it's not quarantine and chill, it's more like quarantine and bomb. It's a tough crowd. Let's just say that.
I think we should do the list, and I'll start.
All right.
The comedy class that we took together, I'm really grateful that I took that class. I don't think I'd be doing I certainly wouldn't be doing the stand-up that I'm doing now at the Comedy Store without that. It would have taken me 5 to 7 years to generate the confidence and the skills and the craft to do that. Yeah.
I am grateful for being born and raised Angelino. I'm grateful for my Lakers and the joy that they've brought me my entire life, me being a sports fan. The city is known for being the major leagues, in the entertainment industry and otherwise. And people come out here with their dream to make it, and it's a pretty large pond. And like the Lakers have exemplified that throughout the years on the biggest stage, nothing but championships. And I am proud, even though they canceled the damn season, the Lakers I am grateful. They do bring me joy.
Great. I love that.
That's your first sports take for your podcast. I guarantee you that.
It is. It's actually true. It is the first sports take. I'm really grateful that I feel healthy, that I'm not afraid of the virus. And I don't mean that I'm not being cautious or that I don't think I could get it. But for some reason, the idea of the virus or the idea of getting sick doesn't hijack my nervous system. I'm not experiencing anxiety around it per se. And I'm so grateful for that, because as much as this is kind of a, Groundhog Day experience to wake up every single day in lockdown, at the same time, I'm so glad that I'm not doing it riddled with anxiety. That would suck.
Some people are. I've had to balance that myself and had to spend time on it, ruminate on it, meditate on it, so I don't go down that rabbit hole too. I want to say that I'm serious. I do want to say I'm grateful for my PlayStation. I am catching up on lost time. I haven't played video games in years, okay, because I just haven't had the time. I never could play video games because I know that's, if I jumped on the new Spider-Man game, I would just waste an entire weekend. Easy. But now that I have a little bit more time, I've downloaded a few video games. I'm like, oh, my God, this is what I've been missing. Oh, this is what all the cool kids are doing. This is amazing.
I feel like I just fell asleep as you were talking about video games because I don't give a shit about them. That's so funny. I'm just like zoning out.
The same thing happens to my girlfriend. It's interesting how that works.
Well, that's
pretty interesting.
What I'm going to say. My next one is that I love nonfiction. I love the real world. As soon as something happens in a show, some fantasy, some Harry Potter, whatever, someone like sprouts wings or can fly or has like furry feet, I'm out. I can't attach to it because it's implausible. But I love the real world. I mean, oh my God, we're in a global pandemic. The real world is so interesting, and it's so much more interesting than anything I think we could imagine, frankly. So I just dig good documentaries, reading the newspaper every day, like just seeing the story that we get to experience while we're here. And in fact, it really bums me out when people die and I sit there and go, oh shit, their window closed. Like they're not watching the story anymore. I mean, maybe they are, technically, but it just bums me out that like I get from 1966 to whenever, and that's like my window on the world. And my mother died not knowing that Barack Obama ever became president. Like her window didn't show her that. And so anyway, I just love real life. I love how crazy and interesting the world can be.
Agreed. And now I'm going to counter your love for nonfiction with, because I get that too, and I am, that is something that I take, 110% interested. But then also, I'm grateful for my Marvel movies because my girlfriend says the same thing, what you just said, and it's true. But at the same time, the real world is horrible and horrific and disgusting and mean a lot of the times, which is why we need our Marvel movies to escape from the misery that is real world. And so I'll watch these stupid superhero movies with guys who can talk to fish and dumb horse shit like that because it's escapism. Meanwhile, as soon as that movie's over, then my girlfriend will sit down and she'll watch the 900 different shows about men murdering their wives. You know, what's that show called? My Wife's Best Friend Did It, or The Killer Coworker. How can you sit there and watch women completely getting murdered and brutalized on a nightly basis and enjoy it? I'm like, no, this is real life. That is disgusting. I'm like, that is horrendous. People are mean to one another. I'm going to go watch my movie about a kid who gets bitten by a radioactive spider and can now climb on walls. Okay? Because, spoiler alert, the husband killed her, and I run away. Motive, it was a life insurance policy. It's always a life insurance policy. Anyway.
Fair enough. You're absolutely right. But that brings me to my next gratitude, which is cultivating gratitude no matter what. Meaning, yeah, the world is messed up and people are mean and stuff, but life is only ever experienced through a single consciousness at a time. And we have control to some extent, not entirely, but we have some control over the ability to point ourselves positively. And so the suffering is only ever one consciousness at a time. And so I'm really grateful that I've decided that I'm just going to throw my brain in the positive direction as much as I can. That's incredibly imperfectly, but it's a powerful decision that actually makes a difference, and it helps me see the world through rose-colored glasses because my consciousness is rosier than it was a few years ago, you know? So
that was good. I was also going to say, that was my next one. I'm grateful for kindness, to kind of piggyback on consciousness. Part of being kind is being aware or being conscious, or the ability to be an empath. Empathy and compassion, I've learned in my adult life now, are qualities that not everyone has or not everyone can practice. It's like an emotional intelligence. And I'm grateful that I do have that emotional intelligence, and most of the people I surround myself with are also in that same realm, and try to practice it because it really is something that can do a lot of good, especially in times like this. You see, in times like this, contrary to what Hollywood has you believe, or these politicians have you believe, in times of calamity, we've seen historically people come together in times like these. They don't break society apart. And that requires a compassion and empathy here, and even without a catastrophe, having that ability is an emotional intelligence, and that's something that I am grateful for.
Cool. I'm grateful for the internet. Like, I just watched a movie tonight that I was telling you about, The Ice Storm, which takes place in the 70s. It's pre-cell phone, it's pre-internet, and I grew up in that time, so I completely get it. And it was a more innocent time in lots of ways, and, you know, there were big bonuses to not being connected. But in this experience in particular, in social isolation, in lockdown, a pandemic, it's like the internet came along 20 years earlier or 25 years earlier so that we could get through this better. It's really a big piece of the puzzle, without which I'm not saying we'd have a harder time per se, but it would just be really, really different. And I'm grateful for the ways in which the internet is participating in this experience.
I couldn't agree more. I am grateful for boxing. I don't know how, with your other people that you've interviewed, how dumb male I am with my grateful list in comparison to your other more thoughtful, well-rounded friends you have, Jess. But so far, I've brought up my PlayStation, the Lakers, Marvel movies, Netflix, and now boxing. So changing my oil and rotating my tires is next. Chopping down trees is next. No, I'm grateful for boxing. It's been kind of keeping me in shape. Just training a little bit in my room and my balcony around my house, keeping me active. And just the sport of it, and going back and watching old boxing fights from back in the day, and just being able to study them. I'm grateful for the art form.
I'm grateful for these food storage containers I bought a couple years ago. Like, they are really good sizes, and they have these cool lids.
I think it's called Tupperware, is what the kids are saying.
No, it's not Tupperware. Just shut up. It is like KitchenAid or something, but they're so cool because they have these little snappy things that you snap, and they just make me happy. They just make me happy. So screw you.
It's I ate a bag the other day of Flaming Hot Cheetos. That made me happy. I haven't had a bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos probably since college. And I was like, wow, I remember this. This brought me back to, I remember, being in high school and eating nothing but junk, but enjoying my life and being a teenager. And being a teenager,
right.
You just had an invincible stomach that would break down anything. Yes. So you can literally grow off of bags of Funyuns and cheeseburgers. And be able to grow and be a functioning human being. Now, I had that mini bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos, and I felt it for like 3 hours afterwards. Now that would like kill me in my new current adult form. But that made me happy, having a bag of Flaming Hot Cheetos the other day.
I love it. I'm grateful for the poker games that you and I have been to together, because I feel like it was a bunch of very patient young men teaching an old woman how to play poker, and I just find it really, really fun.
I was going to bring up poker too, but then I didn't want to be like, oh, okay, but then I'm being the more, big dumb animal male, straight male with my list. But
that's who you are.
I was going to include poker, but that's who I am. Right, exactly.
Do it.
Big dumb animal.
Double down.
Poker. I love poker. We just set up a virtual online poker game session with my group of guy friends the other day. Poker's great, not only because, one, I'm a degenerate gambler, but also because poker is really the chess game. You're not playing your hands as so much as you're also playing the person. I like the chess match in it.
I took a trip around the country when I was 28. I went to 37 states. It took me 4 months. I was alone, although I visited people along the way. And I'm just really grateful that I took that trip. I'm reminded of it because you talking about poker made me think about Vegas, which made me think about Reno. And I had sprained my ankle in Reno on that trip, and I was like holed up in a motel for a couple days. That trip around the country. I'm really glad I did it. I'm really glad I'm the kind of person who wanted to do it. It was fun.
Right. I am grateful for my collection of sneakers. I have a nice collection of my vintage Bo Jacksons. This is going to make you fall asleep too. My vintage Bo Jacksons. I have some Kobe Bryant shoes. I have my old Nike Air Huaraches, my Converse high tops. I have a nice sneaker collection that, for some reason, it's like, I guess, women and their heels. It's men. We have this obsession with cool sneakers.
I'm grateful for the mugs I've collected. That's the only collection I have is mugs. Like, if I go somewhere that I really care about, like, I'll get the mug. And then when I use it, what I love about a mug collection, it's very sort of pragmatic, is that you actually use them. And in using them, you were reminded of why you got the fucking mug in the first place and where you were, and I like that. So I do collect mugs. So there you go. Very sexy, very feminine.
Place, very, very sexy. Very. I mean,
yeah,
right
it
down.
Is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It? I want a girl with
so
a
if
big
there's
old mug
a
collection.
house fire right now, and you had to grab the most prized possession, you would grab
which mug would I take?
And
well,
run out the
house,
all,
obviously,
stark naked with some mugs in your hand.
Well, mugs hanging off various appendages, but that's my collection.
You're
next.
am grateful for a cigar and a good scotch. Good sweaty glass of either scotch or good whiskey and a cigar, and having that on my balcony like a true dumb straight male desires every now and then. Yes, there's something about it that I enjoy. Why I'm listening to a good jazz record.
Your cigar and whiskey are to me a really good gel manicure, because the thing about a manicure, it's not so much about getting them done, because frankly, being in one of those manicure places, the fumes are just disgusting. But the pleasure of a manicure is that you get to look at it yourself for the next 2 weeks. And it's like, ooh, sparkles. Ooh, sparkles on my hands. Ooh, sparkle. Look, I just lifted something. Sparkles.
I'm grateful for the Ken Burns documentary series, Jazz. That is the one thing in my life that I've been an avid fan of since I don't know how small I was when I first heard my jazz record, and I instantly gravitated towards it. And any time like this, jazz has always been a background soundtrack of my life, and especially now that I'm on house arrest. But I went back and I started watching this Ken Burns documentary on jazz, and I think it's the greatest American art form we've ever produced, and I'm including Hollywood.
Cool. I'm grateful for phone calls as compared to texts. Like, I really want to bring back the phone call. I think texts are not entirely ridiculous, but almost entirely ridiculous. Enough said.
I've called you out on that, bro. And I've even
you mean?
I've been called you and I've left you messages because my best friend will appreciate me calling, and then I get big leagued by you, and then followed up with a text. What was this whole wanting to connect thing? Now you're just sending me eggplant emojis.
Which brings me to my next gratitude, which is hypocrisy. Oh, yeah. I love hypocrisy. My own in particular. No, I hear you.
I am, that's a good, that is good. I am grateful for my friends who call me out on my shit. That is the quickest way to my heart, is through making me laugh. And I'm grateful for surrounding myself with the groups of people who will call me on my shit constantly, like yourself.
I'm grateful, I just got to say, for my family. Today I had that Easter party on Zoom with 20 members of my family, and they're just really decent, nice people, And I don't mean that in some sort of douchey pride way. I think most people are decent, nice people. And what a great thing to have, your sort of biological tree. It was literally heartwarming. And and I'm really lucky. And it was 3 generations on the phone. And I just want to savor all of them. It was pretty cool.
Very nice. And since we're rounding up, this is last call. You're kicking me out of the bar. Well, I am grateful for my sanity throughout with everything going on. That is the one thing that we cannot accomplish anything, produce anything, write anything, make money, do whatever it is you want to do in life, dealing with this pandemic, all of the above. still trying to find the funny, still trying to make art, still trying to be a contributing member of society. All of that ceases if you don't have your marbles intact. And it is, rough out there. There's a lot of folks who are struggling, and I could see myself with just a few decisions here or there, or going down a rabbit hole. I can totally see myself as one of those folks you see who mentally unstable, whatever it is, walking around on the streets. It's not that far a fall, and people take that for granted, saying, "Well, that would never be me." When we see these folks, and I say, no, it totally can. Living in a tent on the side of the freeway wasn't where they envisioned themselves when they started out in their life either. So with everything going on, I'm grateful for my sanity, and I hope I get to keep it.
Amen.